The following story is for entertainment purposes only and is derived from fiction, not to be taken literally. But what if I told you, in this story, this is our reality, and this is our universe? A story that consists of 178 different worlds, or realms, surrounded by firmaments. And of those 178 worlds, all of them are surrounded by one massive firmament, known as the First Dome. And in this tale, our world is located here, and they call them the known lands. And these known lands, aka Earth, is surrounded by a massive ice wall. And outside that ice wall, there's 33 continents. This is the reality for humanity in this epic tale, known as the Navigator who crossed the ice walls. Legend of the Navigator who crossed the ice walls, Part 4. Quick overview: group of Continental Army soldiers after the Revolutionary War sail around the tip of South America, all the way to Antarctica. It's here they make it through the summer gates. They end up outside of the ice wall and they run into a whole nother faction of humans that live on the Ancestral Republic. These humans claim to be from thousands of years ago, before the last Great Reset, or possibly the Great Tartary. They claim to be saved by a giant race known as the Anakim. Saved from who, you might ask? The Custodians, a race that's been oppressing mankind for thousands of years. What's more is, throughout these thousands of years that humanity has lived in the known lands, we've been reset unknowingly hundreds, if not thousands of times. But the people from the Ancestral Republic are looking to liberate us and save us from the oppression we've been suffering. Of course, this is just a very intriguing fictional account from a story written probably hundreds of years ago. In part 3, we left off where the alien faction in the spherical craft were bombing the Ancestral Republic. These beings are said to be allies with the Custodians, who are always attacking the people of the Ancestral Republic, seeking revenge. The revenge they seek is the result of an impending war that took place in the known lands probably close to 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, where the Anakim liberated them. They bred with them, and they created a race of hybrid beings that were more powerful than the world has ever seen. But that's for later in the story, so let me continue where we left off. Don't forget, family, this is for entertainment purposes only. This is a fictional tale and is not to be taken literally. I'd like to apologize for being a little later than I thought. I was hoping I could get it done last night, but this episode took me longer than expected. Nevertheless, Night God family, sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and enjoy the show. William! William! Get up! It's time to wake! We gotta go! Mr. Morris jolts awake to the sound of Captain Butlers' voice. He had literally just managed to grab some shut-eye after tossing and turning for quite some time. They're back, William. We gotta get out of here. William was looking around. He was at the president's office, but there was nobody to be found, when previously there had been thousands of people wounded and seeking shelter. Upon exiting the building with haste, William immediately ran into his old crew from the Revolutionary War. A huge feeling of relief fell over him, and they embraced each other as they were experiencing this whole adventure together, so it built some sort of camaraderie between them. The embrace was short-lived, and before you know it, they all found themselves staring up at the sky at the orbs, and they were moving in for the attack. Morris and his crew were awestruck. Then all of a sudden, on the other side of the sky, another type of craft entered their view. There's the cavalry, said Butler, and that's when a large group of triangle-shaped craft that also seemed white or reflective moved in on the spheres. All of these craft began fighting in a style that Morris never deemed possible. It was almost as if they would disappear and reappear in an instant. They were moving so fast, it was like they were jumping through a hole in space-time, and the triangle-shaped craft were much faster than the sphere-shaped craft. They were running circles around them. The triangle-shaped craft are ours, said Butler. After moving outside the ice wall, we were able to manipulate technology and bend it to our will. And now, we're just as far ahead as the next alien faction. Our potential is limitless, William. Don't ever underestimate what you're capable of. Now let's go, said Butler. We got a ride to catch. You could still hear bombs going off in the distance. As they got to the craft, one of the agents standing at the door jokingly said to Butler, "We're about to leave without you." "Ah, you'd miss me too much," said Butler, and they proceeded to enter the craft. William and his crew were absolutely astonished as they seen the sleek, smooth to the touch, beautiful machinery. It was thousands of years ahead of anything he ever saw back home in the known lands. Better strap in, fellas. The first ride in one of these things is a doozy. Captain Butler and the other agents laughed out loud, and the crew looked at each other with concern. Slowly, the craft lifts off the ground, but as it ascends, it gains speed. Faster, 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 and that's when one of the crew members suddenly passes out. Then goes another, and another, then another. Captain Morris fought it as hard as he could. He started to get dizzy, and then he overheard a small conversation between Butler and one of the agents. He could just make out what they were saying and wanted to ask a question, but he was in no condition, and that's when he blacked out. These episodes only lasted a few seconds. But what was odd throughout the ascent, Mr. Morris had heard Captain Butler speaking to an agent about a certain poisoning or poison. And even after he went out and woke up, he was too dizzy to really engage with him about this said poisoning, but he was listening nevertheless. Eventually, they got to their elevation and things began to plane out. And it says that William noticed that it was almost as if they were following a certain track or a one-way roadway in the sky to get to their destination. He also goes on to note the beautiful landscape, the colors, the absolute beauty of it all reminded him of the Garden of Eden. Then he goes on to say that there actually is lands known as the lands of Eden. While he's observing the beauty of these lands beyond, he continuously listens to Captain Butler talk about this said poisoning or this said virus, if you will, that was given, but he didn't understand what he was talking about. So he eventually got enough courage to literally stand up on behalf of him and his crew, and he walked right up to Captain Butler and more or less demanded that he tell him what he's talking about. "Are you sure you're prepared for the answer of this, William?" said Captain Butler. "Yes, I have to know." Captain Butler looks at his fellow agents and then looks back at William and begins his story. It starts many years ago when one of the greatest civilizations to inhabit the known lands had occurred. And this civilization had an all-out war with the custodians. It was a gruesome battle. Many casualties, many sacrificed. At times, we thought that maybe, just maybe, we were going to win. Until the custodians formed an alliance. And this alliance was too powerful. They drove us out of the known lands. But not all of us made it out. Many were left behind. And in order to keep us suppressed and at bay, the custodians instilled something. A poison or an altering of the DNA. They've recently attempted to drop it on our ancestral lands, but we regulate our skies too well. They don't stand a chance, but they are still dropping it over the known lands. The virus starts with one generation, and then they instill it into 1 or 2 generations after that one. Then it will be passed down genetically. But the major and most important problem with that instance of humanity, that super advanced, powerful instance of humanity, was the fact that they had unrestricted age. Like Noah in the Bible, many of them lived 500 to 1,000 years. This wasn't ideal for the custodians. It allowed for that civilization to become too powerful and too advanced, to learn too much. Mr. Morris had a look of anguish on his face. "Yes, William," said Captain Butler. "You have it instilled in you. This virus only allows you to age nearly half of what I age, 250 to 300 years. Your lives are cut short, only allowing for you to have flourishing years of maybe 20 to 40. Your people are required to advance much, much quicker and establish themselves quicker than mine." You could see the anger in William's face and his crew's. "I'm sorry to tell you this, William, but it's the truth." William came back with, "Is there anything we can do? What can we do about this?" "Well, we're working on it," said Captain Butler. "We're working on it." William and his crew settled down and kind of sat in silence the rest of the trip. a trip that would eventually bring them to the moving islands of Thoth. And this is where Captain Butlers' family lived. And this is where they'd spend the next couple of days. Well, there you have it. As always, for entertainment purposes only, this is a tale of fiction, but an intriguing one to say the least. Somebody thought really elaborately to instill and follow such an insane storyline. I absolutely love it. Keeps me entertained. I hope it keeps you guys entertained. The next round is going to tell about the Anakim and how apparently in the story humanity possibly teams up with the Anakim at a point in history. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm going to stop there, but I hope you all enjoyed it. You guys are always begging me. You guys are always pushing me to share the Navigator across the ice walls. But between this Navigator story and the next one, I am going to put in a couple more. But between this Navigator story and the next one, I am going to tell a couple more stories along the way, as I usually do anyway. But yeah, I got some good content coming up, guys, so make sure you stay tuned. As always, stay in the love, stay in the light. I am out.